Who is that?
You told the world on game day to keep the cameras rolling.
Right.
You and Jay would meet post game.
Right.
When Jay was asked about it earlier, he said about what maybe went on or what was said. He said you can ask Prime about that. So was there anything meaningful?
No,
post game?
no. I know Shador kind of got in between it, but no, I don't. Man, I don't hold. You know, I could be petty if they petty, but I ain't got time for that, man. I'm on to bigger things. I'm happy for the brother. I really am, man. I'm happy that they fought, that they played a good game. I'm happy he's a head coach. I'm happy for any brother that's doing it and successful, man. I truly am. I don't know where all this stuff come from. I have to bond because it's my mama taught me that. You just ain't gonna type me and I'm gonna sit back and ain't gonna say nothing. But I'm happy for that dude, man. I don't know him, but I'm happy for him. I wish the best for him. I really do. I think my success ain't got nothing to do with his. So why would I want him to succeed? I don't know how people get down like that. My blessings ain't got nothing to do with his blessings.
Oh boy, Coach Prime. It's the talk of all the sports right now. Colorado State, they rolled to 3-0. This double overtime victory, sunglasses and all. I see that Power 96 is no fan of prime time, but we will get to that as the morning rolls on. We also talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The board has gotten rid of their co-founder, who's also the co-founder of Rolling Stone magazine, Jan Wenner, for racist and misogynist remarks. I mean, he disparaged Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Joni Mitchell, and other Black artists and other women artists, legends. Oh my gosh. And so he is no longer serving. And who cares about the Rock? That's the thing. I digress. I'll get into that at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How about Miss Family Values, Miss MAGA? Lauren Boebert. She didn't just vape in the theater. She and her man were playing touchy-feely, and it's all caught on camera. Great example for an elected official who will vote to shut the government down in just 2 weeks. We'll talk about Lauren Boebert this morning as well. And we got a video to talk about this morning. Found it this it's extremely, on the one hand, disturbing, but thankfully, this woman comes out of a stalking situation uh, ahead and better. What people can do in that situation, how to protect yourself from a stalker. This woman, I don't know how many have seen this, but she went on 2 dates with this guy, and he just went all Jack the Ripper on her. We'll talk about that. And we'll have some fun this morning because of The Root. The Root has put out an interesting list of Black actors and actresses who Black people would like to see play villains in Batman movies. And I did not know that the other day was considered Batman Day. And this is why they did it. But it's a very interesting list. Also, just wanted to mention as a side, don't forget this Friday is this week, period, is the big week for the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Black Press of America. And it is not only the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference where we will all be in Washington all week long in the nation's capital, but it'll culminate for us on Friday with the Leadership Awards. It's a big gala. A couple thousand people will be in there having dinner, drinking, and listening to uh, award recipients give their thank you speeches like Ben Crump. And Rough Ends is going to perform 7:30 at the Marriott Marquis in Washington, D.C. by the Convention Center. It's going to be a fantastic evening, as always. Lots and lots of fun. Everybody's dressed to the nines, and the NNPA strutting their stuff. The Black press showing that not only are they the voice of Black America, but they also, the dapper people of Black America. So we'll check that out. But first, we start with Coach Prime. The story just keeps getting better for the Colorado football team. The Buffaloes improved to 3-0 under Deion Sanders after rallying from an 11-point fourth quarter deficit to beat back the upset-minded Colorado State. Power 96 is chomping at the bit. He says, make sure we live stream the event. We will certainly do that. We'll be live from the red carpet. Greer doesn't miss a beat. But nonetheless, they won 43-35 in double overtime, but it was a chippy game befitting a bitter intrastate rivalry, having taken on added intensity after the Rams coach, Jay Norvell. You heard Coach Prime talk about it as we came on air this morning. He took a verbal shot at Deion earlier in the week about his sunglasses. Indeed, tempers simmered in a pregame dust-up between the teams at midfield, and Buffalo's two-way star Travis Hunter was knocked out of the game after taking a brutal late hit, and that was such a cheap shot. It was totally uncalled for. Ultimately, Shadur Sanders engineered a 98-yard drive and subsequent two-point conversion to send the game into overtime. The younger Sanders then connected with tight end Michael Harrison on touchdown passes in both extra periods as the Buffaloes outlasted the underdog Rams. In the lead-up, though, to the game, Colorado State coach made some comments. He went after Deion. And when you do this, Coach Norvell and others, you got to back it up. He talked about his proclivity for wearing sunglasses and a hat at news conferences. The crowd at Folsom Field, Deion had Lil Wayne lead the team out, so it was on. he had Lil Wayne lead the team onto the field. The Rock was there on the sidelines with Deion. So was Offset. So was Kawhi Leonard. So was LeBron James. They were all there to support Deion. And look, Colorado State and Deion, we have not seen this type of, I guess, excitement, if you call it, around college football in a long, long time, particularly around a single team. and really around a coach. He's brought such a flair there. Now, I'm going to go back to Power 96 because we had this debate many times, and I've been on the same side as Power 96 on this, just to be totally transparent. But this leaving with the way he left Jackson State, a lot of people defended it. A lot of people was against it. They denounced it, I should say. He says, Power 96 says, if you watch the Deion Sanders interview, you must understand this is all about ego, pride, and economics. He evaded the question why he left JSU. He certainly did evade that question. He says Deion in one football season brought in $30 million in revenue to the city of Jackson, a predominantly black city. The power structure at the NCAA couldn't have that. And so Deion went along with that. And Power 96 mentions the great Eddie Robinson from Grambling, the greatest coach ever. Absolutely. Deion will never be on that level, he says. Eddie Robinson, that is, never left his HBCU. One thing Deion said that I thought was interesting too, he was asked about ever considering coaching in the NFL with his and I don't know why they call it such success. I mean, 3 games in, 3-0. I mean, it is successful so far. But anyway, he said he would never consider coaching in the NFL. That was interesting. Um, so we'll see. But folks have gone back on their word many a times, especially when the dollars start being waved in your face. But this was really interesting because the sunglasses, you had ESPN people wearing sunglasses, everybody wearing the sun. In fact, Deion actually, he's the proprietor of those sunglasses. He estimated that because of the controversy he's made, he had $1.2 million in sales of his sunglasses. So, and of course, he outfitted the entire team with the sunglasses as well. He didn't give him the hat, though. That guy, if you're arrogant like Deion, you got to be able to back it up. You have to be able to back it up. And so far, I mean, look, he struggled. This was a game. Let's be real, folks. This was a game that they were 18-point favorites, and it took 2 overtimes to win. And in fact, they came into the game. Deion's Colorado State team came in ranked number 18. Despite winning, they dropped a spot in the AP national poll to 19. That's because these type of teams, Deion's team was supposed to steamroll Colorado. It was supposed to be easy. It should have been 40-0 or something like that, according to those who watch and make these rankings. Quinn is chiming in. He says, Coach Prime is his own person. What he did is put his kids in a good place to get ready for the NFL. That's a way, and with his son there and the sun's shining. I like that sun shining. His son starring over there. That's a good point. One that I know in debates that we've had on this program, that part, Quinn, has not come up. It's a good point because as parents, we tend to do what's best for our kids, even if it's not what's best for us. And to put his son in a place to exceed and go on to that. Because look, Deion has had his career. He's had his NFL career. He's had his Major League Baseball career. And now he's have his coaching career. He's had it. And so why not give your son that shot? And so Power 96 counters, he says, JSU has 4 NFL Hall of Famers. Colorado has 1. See, you can always argue. And he says, when those losses start coming in, we shall see. I leave, these loudmouths like Stephen A. Smith to argue. I got to talk to Barrington about Stephen A. Smith one day. It's Deion made some comments about about Coach Norvell, about he's happy about the brother, his success, and he want all brothers to succeed. Obviously, he's talking about black people, and And so with that as a backdrop, it's good that Stephen A. Smith has been able to write. Stephen A. Smith, he's the HBCU guy. He started in Philadelphia as, a sports writer. Um, it's great that he has had the type of success that he's been able to achieve. What is hard to swallow, and I think that's where the situation with Deion comes in, is the arrogance. Um, he's from Queens. Stephen A. Smith, that's right. I said Philadelphia. He wrote in Philadelphia, but yeah, he's from Queens. He's not a king from Queens, though. I'm telling you right now. Um, but it's hard when and I was looking at his beef, Stephen A. Smith's beef with Terrell Owens. This idea, I'm 30 years into this gig as a journalist, and and people they get old school, but this idea of the journalist becoming the story, going after Terrell Owens. Now, I don't have all the facts of what sparked this and that, and I don't care to know it all. But what I do know is this: you are a journalist. Stay in your lane. Report on the man. There's nothing to report on. He's retired. Terrell Owens is he's long to be tired. Move on. And making yourself the story, the center of it. He does that at basketball games, football. It doesn't matter. He's got to be the story. And ESPN, they don't want to they don't want to get in any hot water because he is their high level Negro. But come on, tell the story. Tell the story. Report. We don't need Stephen A. Smith to be the front page news, but he does. Somebody said it earlier. The ego part. That guy got a massive ego, and maybe that is his what's made him successful. His ego, maybe. I'm like, great, great, great. I'm glad. I'm so happy for the man. I don't know him, don't need to know him, but I'm so happy that he's been able to come up like that in this field and make the millions of dollars that he makes doing what he does. And he's looked to as an expert in so many different sports. So good for him. Um, Moving on. That's why I need somebody else on here at times to keep me in line. Stephen A. Smith would be like, he see this, he's ready to fight me. Right. So anyway, Jan Wenner, the founder of Rolling Stone magazine, is facing criticism for saying that Black and female musicians were not articulate enough to be included in his new book, which features 7 interviews with white male rock and roll icons. The uproar over Wenner's comments prompted an apology from the storied music journalist, and he was also booted from the board of directors of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation, which he founded or co-founded. He says, in my interview with the New York Times, I made comments that diminished the contributions, genius, and impact of Black and women artists, I should say. And I apologize wholeheartedly for those remarks. The tumult began on Friday when the Times published its interview with Wenner, who was promoting his upcoming book, The Masters. The 368-page volume has interviews with people like Bob Dylan, John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, and others. Notably, all 7 interviews, all 7 subjects, of course, are white men. And when the journalist asked Wenner why no similarly famous female or Black rock stars such as Janis Joplin or Stevie Wonder made the cut, Wenner said the men he interviewed were, quote, kind of philosophers of rock, and that no female musicians were, quote, as articulate enough on this intellectual level. He says, it's not that they are inarticulate, although go have a deep conversation with Grace Slick or Janis Joplin. Please be my guest. He goes on to say, Joni Mitchell was not a philosopher of rock and roll. She didn't, in my mind, meet that test, not by her work and not by other interviews she did. He similarly dismissed Black artists, saying he got a sense of how they would speak by listening to their music and reading interviews with them. He goes, and this is a quote, of black artists, Stevie Wonder, genius, right? I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. I mean, they just didn't articulate at that level. He defended the selection of those he did include in the masters as intuitive and musicians that he was, quote, interested in, and suggested he should have included female and black artists to, quote, appease the critics. He says, just for public relations sake, maybe I should have gone and found one token black and one woman artist to include here that didn't measure up to that same historical standard, just to avert this kind of criticism, which I get it. I had a chance to do that. Maybe I'm old fashioned, he said, and I don't give a bleep or whatever. I wish in retrospect I could have interviewed Marvin Gaye. Maybe he'd have been the guy. Maybe Otis Redding had he lived, would have been the guy. This guy. Wow. And yeah, right. Power 96 says, I am not surprised by his comments. He said the racist part out loud. Of course. Of course. In the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it took forever for them to start acknowledging certain artists anyway. And it's just extension of what you see in Rolling Stone magazine anyway. Um, yeah, it seems like some artists nowadays do get a little bit excited about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but there was a time when artists didn't really. It wasn't until like late 1990s it seems that artists started to get excited about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They did some changes and whatever, but it was like, okay. It does. It's not like sports Hall of Fames, particularly Major League Baseball Hall of Fame or NBA Hall of Fame, where that means that those artists now they're retired. They can go on. Having that Hall of Fame stamp makes them more valuable to partnerships and sponsorships and things of that nature. It doesn't necessarily do that for rock stars and pop stars when they go into the Hall of Fame. It's just something to put on the resume that to say when they're being introduced up Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. It doesn't really carry that much significance as the Sports Hall of Fames. That's just the bottom line, folks. Dan Wenner, we've long reached a point in this country, in this world, where everything's come out. They rolled out of the mountains and the bushes and out of the, I don't want to say out of the closet because that means something else nowadays, but they have, they've taken the sheet off and let you know now this is who we are. This is who we are. This is how the world is. If you don't look a certain way, if you're not a certain ethnicity or skin color, we're gonna tell you about it. That's how this world is. So, Jan Wenner, no surprise. Now you know the next time you want to go and buy a subscription to Rolling Stone magazine, you know that you're basically enriching the pockets of a bigot. Lauren Boebert is in the news for all the Lauren Boebert type reasons. We all remember, I think we briefly mentioned this about her trip to the Beetlejuice showing in Denver, Colorado. Well, if you're going to ride into town on a moral high ground or moral high horse, be sure you've got a sturdy saddle. You wouldn't want to fall off after all, would you? The sage advice seems tailor-made for the Colorado Republican, the self-appointed champion of so-called Christian values. In the captured closed-circuit television footage, Lauren Boebert, her companion, who is a 46-year-old Quinn Gallagher, not Quinn Durrett. You better not be Quinn Durrett. Quinn Gallagher, who is the owner of a bar, which is interesting. Quinn Gallagher owns a bar that's known for hosting drag shows, which of course Lauren Boebert goes out her way to disparage. Even from the house floor, she disparages drag shows and things of that nature. But now she's dating a guy who actually owns a bar that hosts drag shows. It's a million and one contradictions if you just listen to one sentence from Lauren Boebert anyway. But he is observed. Now, you remember they got tossed out, and the story was vaping, and you could see her smoking, right? Get tossed out. She gives the middle finger to folks as she's being tossed out. But what was buried in all of that was what closed circuit TV captured. This is a family show, Beetlejuice. He is caressing her breast. Then she reciprocates, caressing another part of him. And there and looking around like nobody can see her. This is a elected federal official who in 2 weeks is about to vote to shut down the government. People won't get paid, right? My sister works for the government, one of my sisters. She won't get paid. I mean, come on. This is what it has come to. This is what it has come to. He lectures about people being threats to children or whatever. So what are you doing in the public theater? And this is for the first time, at least one of the only times I see other Republicans expressing their disdain with what has happened there in Colorado. Um, Here's one that's a quote says she lectures everyone about the LGBT community being a threat to children while getting caught performing a lewd sex act in a public theater where children possibly were. That was Meghan McCain. She says this is family values. This is why people think the GOP are all hypocrites. And even Ann Coulter posted on X, which is formerly known as Twitter. She called Lauren Boebert a totally embarrassing bimbo. She says, can't Colorado find some Republican not trashy and stupid to represent them? This is Ann Coulter's words. In the 3rd congressional district, the gloves came off. Conservative talk show host Eric Erickson says, excuse it all you want. She behaved badly, denied it till exposure, and there's no excuse except tribally. Former Virginia Rep Denver Riggleman wrote that Lauren Boebert seems a bit confused about Freedom Caucus members telling her to reach across the aisle. Oh my gosh. But this is folks, this is where our modern day politics, our modern day politicians, this is what it's all about now. Wake up, smell the coffee that's cooking. Smell what the rock is cooking. Um, Power 96 says Lauren and Deion will be taking pictures soon. That would be interesting. Yeah, they both there in Colorado. Folks, the next item is really a serious item. I don't know if we have the video queued up on this or not, but it's a video that, okay, we do have it. Um, why? You know what? When Muhammad Ali was in his prime, when Mike Tyson was in his prime, when Ray Leonard was in his prime, nobody doubted that they would come through, that they would deliver a knockout. So let that be a lesson to me and everybody else when it comes to Greer. Never doubt. Check this video out.
Decided that I wasn't really feeling it, and I let him know that I wasn't really feeling it.
The whole trajectory of your life.
When I was 22, I agreed to go on a date with someone, and after the second date, I decided that I wasn't really feeling it, and I let him know that I wasn't really feeling it, and I had a lot of other stuff going on, and he said it's okay, I have a lot of stuff going on too. And I thought everything was fine until about a month and a half later when he decided that everything was not fine, and he started messaging me hundreds of times a day telling me that he had changed his mind and I had pissed in his Cheerios and that he was a good man and he deserved a chance. And at first I I blew it off and I was kind of annoyed, like, who do you think you are? But then it started to get really scary really quickly when he started sending me pictures of the outside of my house, telling me that he was planning a raid and he deserved a chance because he was a good man. And so this went on for like a month. I would literally wake up to dozens of phone calls and I started filing police reports. He would actually take pictures of me filing police reports and tell me that that was a stupid idea, that a restraining order was just a piece of paper. He would take pictures of me talking to the police whenever he came around and I called them and they weren't able to find them and be like, oh, all they would have had to do was look up and see me. He would talk complete strangers into stuff so I wasn't able to trust anybody. He would get information out of my neighbors by pretending that he was my boyfriend and he was just worried about me. 2 dates. I eventually had to move out of my apartment because a restraining order truly is just a piece of paper. And the funny thing about restraining orders that no one tells you is that they actually have to serve the person in order for it to even matter. And he would do shit like just ignore the process server and then laugh at like the note that they would leave on the door and send me pictures of the notes that they would leave on the door. Eventually it got so bad that I stopped sleeping because he would tell me that he was outside, that he was planning a raid, that he was going to bring multiple people and he was going to kick my door in and that was going to be the end of it. And I went to the police probably 5-10 times. I filed, I think, like 10 police reports. And they were like, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. He hasn't hurt you. Despite the fact that he was threatening to hurt me, I wasn't able to keep a job. At this time, I literally called this year the year of the jobs because I had so many jobs. It's not even funny because I would do things like not be able to sleep at all. So in one of these jobs, I fell asleep standing up on the first day because I was always awake knowing that he was going to come for me. This is the condensed down version, but eventually I was able to move and ended up getting a letter. I ended up getting a text message from my previous landlord telling me that they had found holes in my last apartment and that I needed to go over the itemized receipt of the charges. I went to go and look at the link and it was an IP address grabber. He was pretending to be the landlord woman at my apartment, trying to figure out where my new house was. He would send me empty packages that and put on the package, do not forward, address correction requested, because he was hoping that they would just go ahead and send him the new address instead of forwarding the package. He was hoping that they would return it with the correct address. He found me on every form of social media. Every time he found me, I would just delete it. So I became isolated. I couldn't trust anyone to not accidentally give him information. After I moved, I felt safer because at least he didn't know where I was, and I finally got a detective assigned to my case because he had started letting me know that he was going to kill me and he was going to get away with it. He specifically told me that he knew he was going to get away with it because he was a black man or because he was a white man and I was a black woman, that he was going to kill me and he was going to get away with it. And when I finally got a detective signed to my case, the first time I met with him, he told me that maybe there was a misunderstanding because he had had a conversation with him and he seemed like a nice guy. And I knew in that moment that this man was going to kill me and he was going to get away with it. I was literally going to be a Facebook memorial. I was going to be on somebody's t-shirt because he knew what he could do. I just started blocking his phone numbers and then he would just download apps and just get new phone numbers. So it didn't really matter. It was okay though because I still kind of felt safe. At least I didn't know where I was. And then I registered to vote. And when you register to vote, your address is public record. And he found me. So I grew up in Southern California and I grew up very anti-firearm because my dad was paralyzed from the chest down literally 4 months, a couple months before I was born. Him and my mom were both shot just sitting in a car minding their own business in some random like initiation type of thing. So it was very anti-firearm, but it got to this point where I was like, holy crap, like no one is coming to save me. Like I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. And these people are telling me that there's nothing that they can do unless he hurts me. So he started to get really frustrated that he wasn't able to reach me. And he started to let me know that, hey, I need to meet him at this certain place or he was going to start making good on his plan. And by this time, there wasn't too many ways that he could get in contact with me. It got down to the point where he like found me on Duolingo and then started messaging me there. Eventually, he did find out where my new...
So, folks, what happened here? She did all the right things. She contacted law enforcement several times, and some of the key takeaways is they kept telling her that she, as long as he hasn't hurt you, there's nothing we can do. And She talked about losing her parents, her father, to gun violence, and that she hated guns. But ultimately, he tracked it down. One of the ways he tracked it down, and always keep this in mind. So she moved. She had to uproot her life. She moved. They went on 2 dates too, mind you. This guy was whacked out. Douglas Eugene Jackson is his name, and um, so she eventually buys a gun. He would send packages. He would pretend he'd talk to the neighbors and say that he's a boyfriend he was worried about or whatever. Talk to the landlord, and he would pretend that he was this great guy, whatever. But then he would send packages. Once she moved, he was trying to find her, and he would put forwarding address requested. Do not forward. And when you do that, the post office sends you back whatever you sent with the right address. So he was able to locate her in Arizona. And so he went there and she again alerted police. So finally she got a firearm. She said she would sleep against her door with the chair locked against the door. She said she knew he was coming. She knew eventually he was going to come, and she wanted at least time to be able to fend him off. Well, that time came. He burst through her door as she had her nightmare, and she shot him, and he fled. But this time when the cops came, they looked around. He was hurt and bleeding in the bushes, and they found him. They arrested him. Douglas Eugene Jackson. He got 15 years in prison for this in 2020. Um, so the problem here too is stalking. It impacts 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men in the United States. Yet there is no stalking hotline, no stalking crisis centers, and it is often difficult for stalking victims to recognize what they are experiencing and or know where to go for help. The Stalking Prevention Awareness and Resource Center, or SPARC, was started to help the helpers, making sure that the victim service providers, including domestic violence shelters and rape crisis agencies, campuses, law enforcement agencies, and other places where stalking victims come for help and support, have the training and resources they need to better respond to victims and survivors. Spark is a federally funded project providing education and resources about the crime of stalking. Spark aims to enhance the response to stalking by educating the professionals tasked with keeping stalking victims safe and holding offenders accountable. Spark ensures that allied professionals have the specialized knowledge to identify and respond to the crime of stalking. Folks, call 911. This was only 2 dates. And yes, in this case, 911, calling the police, the restraining order, and truly what she demonstrated was that a restraining order to many in law enforcement, unfortunately, is just a piece of paper. And as she said, it's not even enforced unless and until it is served. And most of these stalkers avoid somehow being served. And so it never goes into effect. So when he comes back to her home, there's nothing. The cops will just call it a nuisance, and it's nothing that they do or can do. And so this is what happens. So she did everything she possibly could. There are no resources, and perhaps her speaking up. This video just surfacing. This happened a couple of years ago, but the video is just surfacing, like so many other things that just surface. But you can call 911. Don't be afraid to call 911. As she says, even though she eventually got a gun, that gun actually drove her crazy. She's not a gun person. She wanted the folks as she said in the video, she don't want right wing folks to think that she's a gun advocate now. In fact, she hates guns and she doesn't want anything to do with it. She just felt it was either him or her. But check out www.stalkingawareness.org, www.stalkingawareness.org for information on resources. What a sad thing. And the other thing, you caught what she said, right? He weaponized his race. He said, I'm white, you black. And unfortunately, that's the sad truth. This privilege goes even there. It goes a long way. And she, and folks say, well, what'd you go out with him for? Well, she agreed to go on a date. It sounds like somebody was trying to fix her up. And said, okay, you pushing this guy. He seems like, and so she went. She went one more time, and she's like, before this thing goes any further, let's just call it a day. He could not accept that. And Timothy Williams writes in, he has probably done this before. And my little sis says, wow, what a crazy and scary story. Shaking my head. Yeah. I mean, I usually don't listen to videos that are so long like that. But this one caught my attention. It caught a lot of people's attention. It's like a couple of million views. It caught a lot of people's attention, as well as should. But the only resource, tangible resource that I could find was this stalkingawareness.org. And again, they say that here's what we can do, but there's really not a whole lot until and unless, like the police says, there is physical harm. And usually that physical harm is either a extremely serious assault or death or murder. But they have a lot of different awareness techniques and other things. I mean, she did everything. Her life uprooted even until this day, and you could tell her life is not the same. She shot a man. It was self-defense, but why did it have to come to that, folks? Whether guys, women, females, uh, LGBT, no matter who you are, if somebody doesn't want to date you, there are other people out there. I know you've heard that saying, there's other fish in the sea or whatever. There's other people out there that will date you. It's not hard to get a date today. It's not hard at all. I know it's about finding that someone special. And that whole idea that they only come around once, it's a lie. You'll find somebody special. You'll find somebody special. Stalking is not it. And you're never going to find someone stalking them. Go to www.stalkingawareness.org for more information and resources. Michelle Madison says he basically ruined her life after just 2 dates. Exactly. She quit a job. She said she took a job at a gun range, and she couldn't do it anymore. She had to stop doing that too. She had to look for different ways. Now she works at a call center. It's 2 dates. 96, right? He says, take your L and move on. And you don't have to look at it as an L. Just look at it as, look, all right, it's not going to work out. It's just something that she's not a bad person. He's not a bad, just move on. But this guy, Douglas Eugene Edwards, talking about, oh, I'm white, so I can get away with this. I mean, he literally said that to her. You black, I'm white. I'm gonna get away with this. Well, talk to everybody in 15 years, dude, because that's what he wound up getting, and a bullet to the belly. Was it worth it? He was mentally unstable. Dr. Nicole says it wasn't about the date at all. He was totally mentally unstable. Exactly. And so here lies another lesson. Be careful who you say yes to go on a date with, right? It's time to do some serious backgrounds. You got look. You got to take their fingerprints. It's have them spit in the cup. You have some DNA. That's what it's all about today. I'm so glad. I've been married, been with my wife now 20 years. We 20 years all together, and so glad that I don't have to look for anybody. Because, whoo, man. But for those who do, just be careful. And I'm halfway kidding. I'm not totally kidding about the DNA samples and everything else. Do a background check, like they're applying for a mortgage or something. Go take a deep dive. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. This poor young lady, 2 dates in her life is ruined. And it could have been a lot worse. We said her life is ruined and it could be a lot worse. Imagine that. Just think about that for a moment. That statement. Let that sit. Wow. So we're not going to end like that. It's just that's too much of a down note to end on. We're going to talk about Batman. Now, my favorite Batman, for various reasons, was with it was the first big motion picture, which was with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. That dude was off the chain. Not to mention, of course, you know who did the soundtrack. The one and only, the greatest of all time. The GOAT, Prince, did the soundtrack. But I mean, he was just fabulous. It was just fabulous. And of course, then you had Heath Ledger and all of them, and they were phenomenal. But the Root has put together a list of Black actors that they want to see as Batman's famous villains, and they include Regina Hall, Tyler James Williams, and others. The outlet notes that Batman has an extensive roster of fascinating villains. Yes, many of them are just bad people motivated by money, revenge, or pure insanity. However, a few have personal, more complex reasons for doing what they do. In the live action film adaptations Hollywood has given us, we've seen him fight the Joker quite a few times. So it's time to move on and highlight some other members of Batman's gallery. Here are some right now that the Root gave us. Brian Tyree Henry, they said should play Two-Face. Michael B. Jordan should play Clayface. John David Washington would be a great Deadshot. Tyler James Williams, as we mentioned, they believe should play the Riddler. And Lupita Nyong'o should play Catwoman. And Kiki, do you love me, Kiki Palmer? Kiki Palmer should play Poison Ivy, according to the Root. And Regina Hall would be a great Mad Hatter. Boy, oh boy, Black folks never miss. We never miss. I would actually like to see Regina Hall play the Mad Hatter. I would see that. More than even Kiki playing Poison Ivy and Lupita playing Catwoman. I think Regina would be a really good Mad Hatter. I think they hit the nail on the head with that one. That would be interesting. Michael B. Jordan, Clayface. I don't really know the character Clayface too well. And I don't really know the character Deadshot too well, to be honest with you. Tyler James Williams, he's from Abbott Elementary. Everybody Loves Chris. Yeah, I could see him as the Riddler. Yeah, Timothy Williams says that she says that Regina would nail Mad Hatter. Absolutely. But Tyler James, this guy has an interesting story. I learned some more about him recently. He has an illness that kind of wears I think a colostomy bag or something like that, and he's been dealing with that for a long time, and he's overcome a lot of stuff. Really, really an interesting actor. He's a good actor. Interesting though, in the roles that he has played and how he's played them. He's absolutely everything about Abbott Elementary is absolutely hilarious, but he absolutely is hilarious in that. My kids loved Everybody Loves Chris. Chris Rock's life. He is he's really good in that. He was a kid, of course, in that. But the Riddler, yeah, he probably could pull it off. I'm pretty sure he could pull it off, but how good? I think he'd be pretty good. So, but there you have it, folks. Black folks, black press, black organizations like the Root, they don't miss. Tim Scott would nail the raccoon part in the Batman movie, says Power 96. Here we go. Batman. I didn't know it was Batman Day. Who knew? It's a day for everything. When is Spider-Man Day? I guess that's coming up too. Who would be a good Spider-Man? Well, that's for another program. Thank you all for tuning in again to Let It Be Known. Again, this week, big week. Friday. There's still tickets remaining for Friday night if you want to come on over to Washington, D.C. at the Marriott Marquis. The Leadership Awards, the National Leadership Awards. There you see the America's Black Attorney General Ben Crump is going to be among those awarded. Of course, CBC chair, I should say, Stephen Horsford would be there. We had a representative from FISA who is going to be honored for what they do. The representative from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, she is going to be one of the recipients. Naisha Foster, she her contributions in the pharmaceutical field have advanced medical science and positively impacted countless individual lives. And of course, Dreambox Learning, the president and CEO of Dreambox Learning, will also be honored. Jesse Woolley Wilson will also be honored. Of course, Dr. Chavis will be there. My Aunt Pam says today is cheeseburger day as well. Oh boy, the cheese is it? Oh no, it's the hamburger. So there's no cheeseburger. All right, so we can't get nobody to play the cheeseburger yet. But be there at the NMPA's Leadership Awards. Of course, it's the CBC week at CBCF. Wow, it's going to be so many folks in Washington all week. I'll be there in a couple of hours in DC for the rest of the week. The CBCF does this every year. It's the biggest week of the year other than Black Press Week. Well, they'll beg the difference that they are the biggest week, and maybe Black Press Week in March is the second biggest week. But we are also a part of that. The Leadership Awards, a lot of celebrities, big time celebrities come in as well for the CBCF's annual legislative conference. And they tend to drop by and pop their heads into the NMPA's Leadership Award ceremony. That everybody looks for a party that week, especially as the week winds down. We know Saturday is the Phoenix Awards. Everybody, as they say, who is somebody will be at the Phoenix Awards Saturday night. Friday night, of course, is the big night for us at the Black Press. And mostly everybody who is somebody will drop in there too. You got to be somebody, right? And you are somebody. You all are somebody. So that means you all are invited to pop in and catch us on the red carpet. We might pull you aside and do a little interview with you, especially as Power 96. If Power 96 shows up, he's going to be the show. We're going to pull him onto the red carpet. He probably have on red shoes and something. He'll probably have on something to do with HBCUs, but he'll probably have some really red or pink or some kind of wild color shoes. I can see it. I see it. So we'll check him out on the red carpet if he's there. If you're there, we're going to pull Timothy Williams, all you guys. Pam, we're going to pull y'all on the red carpet. If you're there, Michelle Madison, we're going to pull all y'all on the red carpet. Quinn, you going on the red carpet. Everybody's on the red carpet Friday night. 7:30, Marriott Marquis. Be there. NMPA-events.com, right? Or is it .org? So come check us out there. NMPA-events.com. Check us out. Grab yourself a ticket. They're going fast, but it's still enough for you to come and join us. We'll see you then. And we will also see you on Let It Be Known tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching.